We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars Wrestling Show, episode 467. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week, as always, the reigning Scholars of Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion and the OG Undisputed Scholar himself. He is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how's your evening going, sir?
My evening is going very well. I have Goldie on my shoulder. That's just the constant reminder that I'm doing quite well when it comes to the Scholars of Wrestling show, representing the Undisputed Scholars grandly, and it just feels wonderful.
And speaking of wonderful undisputed scholars, also joining us this week, he is another undisputed scholar. He is Scholar Brian. Scholar Brian, how's life treating you down in Florida, sir?
Not bad. Hanging out just under Scalataric on top of that mountain, just sitting on a little alcove, just hanging out because that's what I'm doing after my showing at the last pay-per-view. Woof. Okay, that's
Sorry I asked.
yeah. But you know what? Hanging out's good. Being champion, as Tarek knows, kind of stressful a little bit. Don't need it. We're here now.
Well, it's okay. It's okay, Brian. It's okay, Brian. It may be stressful to some, but I will say I owe you a championship match. You being the number one contender and all, because as you put it, we're just hanging out here on top of this mountain, just keeping it undisputed. So it's now the question with the reminder that we have NXT Battleground tonight, uh, and Clash at the Castle next week. I believe the pay-per-view after that would be Forbidden Door, would be the number three.
I believe that's the last Sunday of the month. Yes, for Forbidden
I
Door.
was I was hoping for us to go for SummerSlam, but if it's at Forbidden Door, Brian, I'm giving you the championship match. You versus me, Forbidden Door for Goldie. The battle of the undisputed scholars, keeping it going. Yeah,
Or
thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up for you, Jeff. Good. It's nice to know. It's like, don't worry, you'll join us on top of that mountain eventually if we allow it.
Get out of your system now, kids. We
We're
got a
planning
show to
to.
record.
Oh, we do have a show to record, but we also have championship matters for the undisputed scholars to talk about. So what do you say? Forbidden Door, the battle of the undisputed scholars.
yes,
Awesome.
accepted. Challenge accepted.
All right. Virtual handshake. Virtual handshake. Very good.
Delightful. Can we get on to the rest of the show proper now?
The
I
undisputed
don't know.
scholars
Can
allow it.
we?
Well, anyway, since we're now getting in the show proper, we can't go any further without touching upon a little bit of something we like to call backstage news.
Indeed, we shall go ahead, peek behind that curtain once again, and notice, Jesus Christ, 2024 is just the year of running out of contracts, isn't it? In this edition of
Backstage news.
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 Contract season, man.
Yes, a lot of contracts are being moved around this time of year, but I especially wanted to bring this one up in particular because one of my favorite guys in AEW, his contract is coming up soon. It was just announced as of today that Pentagon Jr., also known as Penta El Zero Miedo, his contract with AEW is going to be up at the end of the summer, and supposedly, if words we believed, WWE is interested in him because why wouldn't they be? So, real quick, before we get on to the rest of our This Week in Wrestling and our predictions for Battleground, I had to put this Scholar's Quick Talk question for you all. Where do you think Pentagon is going to be going at the end of the summer and why?
This would have been a lot harder before seeing the success of the Santos Escobar, the Dragon Lee, what they've been doing with the Mexicans. in WWE. So now that you know that WWE is interested in Pentagon, I mean, the only thing really keeping him in AEW at this point is Ray Phoenix. Really. So I'd say at this point, it's probably about a 50-50. It could go either way. Like, there's no definitive answer that I can give, you know?
But if you had to roll the dice and make a decision today, gun to your head, you need to make a decision today. Where's Pentagon going?
If I had to make a choice, I'd say he stays with Ray Phoenix.
All right, very good. Cool. Which way you going on this one? What and why?
Really thinking about this, and even Brian mentioned that if Penta does join up with WWE, I don't see him really doing much of anything other than just, oh, he's a luchador, just throw him with LWO, throw him with Santos, throw him with Andrade, which apparently Andrade is starting to vent out in frustration with how he's being booked or lack thereof. So I look at it as if he stays with AEW and if they offer him something more than what WWE could offer him since they want him so bad, it could be they could give him something like more. They can give him more possibilities than just, oh, he's a luchador, let's just throw him with all the other Mexican wrestlers that we have. So I would say he would stay in with AEW just because I think he can have more of trying to find the right word, more of like a standing out in AEW than he can just being mixed with all the other Mexican wrestlers and that WWE has. So as much unless I would like to be proven wrong, if he did and he actually becomes like a singled out star, he would be passing Dragon Lee and actually becoming the next Rey Mysterio that they've been looking for so long. Maybe, but I'm gonna say he's also gonna stay with AEW to be with Death Triangle.
I'm going to make it 3 for 3. As much as I think that there's more of a chance for Penta to be a more of a breakout star, to actually be that Rey Mysterio type figure, I think there's way more of an upside to him than there is for other Mexican talent. But frankly, I just don't think the track record is there. Not just for the Mexican talent, like your Andrades, like everyone we talked about, but also for big foreign language talent themselves. I'm also going to lump in Shinsuke Nakamura in there because
Mm-hmm.
Shinsuke Nakamura should have had a way more of an upside than anyone else could have. Triple H even recognized it, and all of that potential got squandered. So all of this, with everything we've seen, I find it funny that MJF was the one hyping up the bidding war of 2024, when in all reality, I think a bigger bidding war is about to break out for Pentagon, especially considering AEW, he already has his brother there. He already has a proven track record there. They can put him anywhere on the card, and he is going to get over, and he's absolutely going to deliver with anybody with, just like Rey Mysterio is with WWE at this point. And really, I think at this point, AEW is hungrier to not lose anybody that they're really going to use long term. So I think between the fresh opportunities that they can give Pentagon, along with the sizable amount of money, which I'm sure he seems pretty comfortable with as it is, I'm going to join the consensus. I'm thinking Pentagon is going to stay with AEW.
Which I bring a Scholars Quick Talk, I guess, as the under part of your Scholars Quick Talk, fool. I would say like one benefactor of like keeping him in is to give him a singles title. If you were to give him a singles title to convince him to stay, what title would you give him?
I mean, the obvious one would be the international title. And if they're
Okay.
gonna put the AEW title on Osprey, there you go. That's it.
One other possibility exists: the Continental Crown. The
That's a
Continental Crown.
I was thinking that, but I'm also thinking like, do you want to get the title off Okada if since you want that to be his title?
No, I do not want it to be his title, but I think at the time he needed to be. It was at the time when Okada was coming up, it was the right thing for him at the time. Plus, if you're going to be using the Continental Crown tournament as your equivalent to the G1 Climax here in North America, it makes sense that, yeah, someone like Okada has won it before. He has been up the top of the mountain, but it has been won by surprise entries before. It has been won by others before, like your Tetsuya Naito's, like your Kenny Omega's, who before he was on his way back. And even then it took him a couple tries. If you really want to make an appeal to someone this high level that you know WWE has a real interest in, like a Pentagon, then you bring out the intangibles. Then that's when you bring out the, okay, we're going to push you back to the way that you were pushed right at the start. Freshen that up beyond just a title, beyond just a really big paycheck, which they could both give you. I think there's something that's a little bit more intangible that WWE is farthest from offering, and that's some sort of guaranteed legacy. And I think the Continental Crown tournament win is going to be an ideal thing to appeal to him.
Hmm. That's a fair assessment, but I'm actually going to second Brian on. I actually think the international title would be a better suit for him because, again, I'm thinking that they're gonna have Okada hold on to that title and win the next C2, because I do understand what you're saying, Fool, but I mean this is just the second going, the second run of this tournament. You're gonna have plenty of other tournaments to have those surprise winners, but I think
But that's the
one of
thing. I don't
one of their
think it's
big
going to be
focuses
that
they're
big of
gonna.
a. I don't think it's going to be that big of a surprise. His name, and a lot of other names are plausible names. I misspoke when I said surprise, but more of us like maybe more of an, not even just an underdog. I'd say more of a dark horse pick, because
Mhm.
it's with all of Penta's credibility, he's got all the credibility he needs. He can throw. He's one of those guys where you can throw him anywhere on the card, and it will make perfect sense. I do believe it's far more likely, for if he's going to be given a title for this, I think it's far more likely that he's probably going to be the international champion or something like that. But if they don't want to, if they want someone else to take the title off of Osprey or something like that, I think this is a bit more wishful thinking on my part, because I really like Pentagon, obviously. But really, any of these titles, any of these singles titles would be viable, and I think you make all of them look really great.
Hell, just real remembering this now, Ray Phoenix won the number one contender for the international title. You have those seeds planted as a way to get pet like to as a way to sweeten the deal for Penta.
Hey, anything is possible at this point. I'm sure that Tony Khan is more than willing to shell it out for a talent like him, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll absolutely be paying attention to the story as it progresses. But in the meantime, that's not the only story in wrestling breaking this week. We also have all the happenings from this past week in wrestling and all of the major television shows, starting first with WWE. Because we had, yet, among other things, we did have another fake retirement angle, this time with AJ Styles attacking Cody except instead of a salmon jacket, it was a robin's egg blue jacket. I
Hey,
don't know
I was
what
gonna go
color.
sky blue.
this is the deal.
You
Okay,
jump.
if you have someone who can pull it off, okay, going back to the well isn't necessarily a bad thing if you execute it properly. Okay, and AJ Styles, that was to a T exactly what Mark Henry did. Like, it's the second coming. Like, I loved everything about that. Sometimes, even if it's predictable, it's like going into the segment, you knew what was going to happen. You knew exactly what was going to happen. AJ Styles isn't retiring on a random ass SmackDown. It's not happening. But you knew exactly what was coming, but they executed it so well that it's like, okay, cool. I'm locked in. That's
What
it.
I, and it's something that I actually talked about on this show before. I think it was when it was the prediction show for, let's see, when did Cody and Styles wrestle? It was the one
The
before King
last
and Queen of the Ring.
the last actual pay-per-view
It
backlash,
was
I think.
Backlash. Yeah. Yep, that's right. It was Backlash. Uh and I was making it clear. I'm like, I hope they can continue this to actually make this feud personal than just let's just have this match. And I was going down the route with AJ Styles being the only person who can say he wrestled Dusty Rhodes uh, as a way to continue the story. But doing this Mark Henry angle, I do agree. It was fun. Yes, it's predictable. It was just like, Jesus Christ, can you be any more obvious? Where it's like, we're not stupid, but it's also great in execution. Which in Mark Henry's case, it was a simple trick. He had just himself to trick John Cena. With AJ Styles, now you actually have uh the OC kind of helping him, and they're keeping security away and making and letting all this go down. So it's actually showing, oh, I guess we really are going to get a full reunion of the OC, and it actually kind of sets my way for later tonight for predictions and Battleground. But that having the biggest story to come out of SmackDown, it was something to be like, okay, we're gonna have a nice, good title feud that will be that will bring great matches between the Styles and Rose, and I'm looking forward to it.
As am I. Yeah, this is again, we've been I was a little more concerned that I was like, okay, you're doing this again, until it was brought to my attention that the Mark Henry retirement angle was about 10 years ago. So that's more than enough time for a new crop of fresh fans to experience that kind of thing for the first time.
It's
So
so weird. It doesn't feel like 10 years.
I know it doesn't,
It's
but you know
crazy.
what? It logistically it adds up. So,
Mm-hmm.
and plus, like you said, the execution was there. So even if it wasn't the freshest, hey, complaining about it in my mind right now is just sort of nitpicking.
Yeah. But hey, like I said, they added their own spice with Styles having uh the OC with him. So yeah, it adds a little more spice to what was there.
Now, speaking of spice and back to your wheelhouse, specifically the Intercontinental title,
Ah, yes.
I know you definitely, we were talking before we started recording tonight. You had some thoughts about the status of Chad Gable's feud with Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title, didn't you?
I did, and it actually is uh kind of leeching on. I say leech, but just connecting to to the backstage news of the whole conversation on everybody's contract. The 2024 is the year everyone's contract is running out. We already got Becky Lynch taking some time off. We have Penta. Uh, I believe earlier this year we had Drew, because I know at least last year Drew was a big talking point about his contract, him not re-signing.
Well,
And
Drew resigned like a week before Mania.
So yeah, hey, 20 still it's 2024. Yeah, it's just and apparently the reports are just who was in charge. I forgot his name, but who was in charge of basically contract negotiations and just the people in WWE not liking him. Uh his name escapes me. It doesn't matter. But now we have this storyline with Chad Gable and the Intercontinental Championship. And according to the reports, Chad Gable's contract is set to expire this weekend. So now that apparently that his Intercontinental Championship match and the Intercontinental Championship itself is being used as kind of the bargaining chip to keep him in WWE. But I'm convinced, even if they didn't give him the Intercontinental Championship, I think he's going to stay. He's one of the most popular stories going in WWE right now. Doesn't matter if it's Raw or SmackDown. The fans are invested in this Alpha Academy storyline with Otis, Maxine, and uh, Tozawa, and just the fact that it's the main story for the Intercontinental Championship is just something of just I love that it's this level of investment in WWE because at least compared to Vince, Triple H actually respects the Intercontinental Championship, and it's at a point where it's the number two storyline compared to what's going on. I won't just say with the world heavyweight, but with both world heavyweight titles in the main story. But if this is being used for Chad Gable to stay, I think it's just we're finally going to have him get his first singles title sooner rather than later.
And honestly, I think you're right. I think it is going to be sooner rather than later because let me know if you experience this too. But I feel like after WrestleMania 40, when both Gunther and Roman Reigns have both ended their gigantic title reigns spanning multiple years, I feel like there's a part of me that really needs to get used to smaller title reigns again. It's
Right?
almost like, oh yeah, he's not gonna lose it just yet. It's only been a month. It's only been 2 months. Yada yada. When in reality, like if you think about it, that's kind of the way that most other championships have always been. But
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still some time I need to like get used to that idea again, if that makes sense.
It does. I actually
Here,
think it'll work on Sammy's behalf, continuing what the Intercontinental Championship is supposed to be, rising you to that level of world heavyweight title picture. I think this is his stepping stone to actually being a top contender to win Money in the Bank this year.
Hmm.
here,
Since
here's
he's
here's my issue. I'm not completely convinced that the storyline ends with Chad Gable as Intercontinental
oh,
Champion
oh that
because the main focus of the uh, Alpha Academy angle, to my eyes, is when is Otis going to turn on Chad Gable?
oh yeah, that's going to be the next Intercontinental Championship feud.
And
Absolutely.
and that no, it's like I'm not even convinced that it gets to an Intercontinental title feud because I think he turns on him at Clash at the Castle. Because it's one of those things. I am not convinced that the Intercontinental title is being used as a bargaining chip to get him to resign. I think he's going to do the same thing that Becky's doing. I think that except he's actually going to play the field, if you were. He'll come back to WWE, but he's going to listen to other offers in order to get more money. I am not convinced that Chad Gable becomes Intercontinental champion soon because the whole focus of the storyline isn't Chad Gable becoming Intercontinental champion. It's when is Alpha Academy going to turn on Chad Gable? If it was more about Chad Gable than the other three, then I would be on the side of what you guys are talking about. but I'm just going by what I'm seeing.
Well, I actually think they're on a really like in building your next heel in Chad Gable and building your next face, the next big overall face in Otis. I actually think it's just working wonders for both of them because
Oh, no doubt.
it's just you got that question. It's like, wow, it's like I've been wanting Chad Gable to win the Intercontinental title for so long. It's like with how he's had his matches with Gunther, and now he's having this story with Sammy. I just feel like now it's like if you don't put that title on him with all these opportunities, it's gonna hurt, at least hit on this thing on his end. I do see what you're saying on the whole like testing the waters to see what offers he can get. But I feel like if it's now reaching that point where it's just inevitable and you got the potential of a new Alpha Academy with the Creed brothers and a nice good continuing storyline with that Intercontinental Championship with Otis. It's just those pieces are there that for me at
Yeah.
least that I could think, okay, this could work with everyone's favors.
Yeah, and I would believe that more if they were leaning more into the Chad Gable and Sami Zayn part, but they're really not from what I've seen. So that's why I'm going with, yeah, Chad Gable deserves to be Intercontinental Champion. He should be Intercontinental Champion, but I'm not convinced it happens at Clash at the Castle because of the way they're playing the storyline right now. That's not focused on Chad Gable and Sami Zayn. It's focused on Chad Gable and Otis, and that's not a recipe for a title change.
Very interesting.
It could be
Well,
Sammy just being the third wheel
then
in a
again,
bigger story. Yeah.
that's that element of unpredictability that just makes this entire storyline so appealing. Anything else from this week with Raw or SmackDown that jumped out at you that you want to discuss this week?
It's really just now just the fact that I respect the hell out of them for having the women's world title and the men's world title in the same storylines, which are being held on equal grounds, with Liv Morgan trying to basically seduce Dom into joining her and just, in a way, just continuing turning Judgment Day against one another. Like we have Priest who's trying to focus on Drew McIntyre, which Drew McIntyre is getting himself distracted. They're all getting distracted, and Damian Priest is trying to like keep the group together, but also trying to distance. It looks like he's just distancing himself because he's just getting constant disappointment look after disappointment look. Which, and then you have the element of Finn trying to be like, you know what, he's right. We should be doing better. We're the Judgment Day. We're the ones in charge of Raw. So you see him actually trying to keep peace and trying to be like, Dom, what are you doing here? Yes, I know she tried talking to me too, but no, I'm smarter than that. I know. And when you get that inevitable Rio return, there's now Judgment days are numbered, and I think it's going to reach that boiling point at SummerSlam.
I love the fact that he's so focused on the story behind everything, whereas I'm focused on Liv Morgan took the time behind the scenes to like every single one of Dominic Mysterio's Instagram photos and Instagram reels. Took the time to like every single one. And
It's
it's
like,
just like it's like talk about leaning into a character.
hey, man, Jersey represent.
Yeah, I'm like, look, I respect it, and I agree. Having the main women's title and the main men's title on the same brand and the same storyline, and everything revolves around Dominic Mysterio, the magnificent dick that he is. I'm, 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 it's my favorite. It's my favorite thing on Raw. I'll say it.
I'll just Raw in general is just that point where like this is the kind of like can't miss TV that I've been missing with that, and it's just like you keeping the Sheamus storyline with against Kaiser going, which that match was just awesome. And overall, like SmackDown is okay. I mean, with AJ Styles and uh Cody Rhodes, but I can't really like. I mean, other than just them hinting at LA Knight and Logan Paul, there's really like not much to talk about, and just the potential of breaking up of Waller and Theory. But that's we don't need to talk about that. But on Raw, there's just so much more juicy storylines that just are like, ooh, I want to cut into this and just savor the flavor of what's
Yeah, it's
going.
like there's more meat on the bone on Raw than there is on SmackDown. I'll agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, there's absolutely so much happening on WWE television right now, but AEW is no slouch either, and they certainly proved it by opening the show with the return of MJF on Dynamite, and frankly, dropping a Dynamite promo on us with, and apparently starting up a feud with Rush of all people, which after hearing the promo leading up to it, it was one of those times where I wouldn't have thought about it, but after a promo like that, it just makes all the sense in the world.
I love the fact that they're going back to the MJF that we all know instead of whatever that was at the end of his world title run. Because you guys remember I was a very big critic about the last couple months of his title run. Did just character his character was changing. It wasn't the same. And then he took the time off, he came back, and he's legitimately right back to what he was doing before the title run. And I love that. And he's going to be working his way back to where he should be at the top of the card. And I love the fact that his first feud is going to be matches where they're just beating the shit out of each other, because that's what Roosh does. He doesn't work any other style. He's gonna come beat the shit out of you. You better come beat the shit out of him back. And I'm and I also love that they're giving Roosh actually something to do, actually something meaty to do. You signed him to a long-term deal. You haven't done shit with him since, and now you're giving him MJF. I love it.
I think Rush has only had like 3 matches under AEW in 2024.
Something
So
like that.
yeah, something to that extent, but it is very good. Yeah, we are like, I'm sure like whatever MJF feud is going to be when he gets back is just going to be used to clear off the ring rust since he's been gone for so long. Let's just throw him a guy who just beats the ever loving shit out of him. Why the hell not?
I will say, however, that this kind of feud absolutely sets the pace for this new era of MJF. And not to mention, I think it'll also elevate everybody. It'll elevate Roosh, it'll elevate MJF, where, yeah, this is the new MJF, or it's the kind of thing that will set the pace for everybody. Roosh will look like a badass. MJF will look more capable than he's ever been. I'm really looking forward to this. There's
I
so
mean,
much upside.
just look at how they ended the segment. Okay, a massive pull apart brawl with all kinds of security in the ring, and it's just MJF and Ruth beating the shit out of each other. I'm like, that's all you needed to sell me on what we're gonna see here.
I might be in the minority here, but I'm actually looking past this match with Roosh, and I'm trying to think what could be. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming, so when that comes, I will apologize. But I'm looking more towards to what he can do, we're gonna bring for him in the future. And for me personally, I kind of want him to continue his story with the Undisputed Kingdom. At least they found they used their way to take Adam Cole out of the story until he fully heals. I want him to finish the storyline with Wardlow. Because even have Wardlow commenting is like, oh, you're still, it's like you're trying to act tough, but you're still just a pussy. And I'm just like, you have this one story, you have this one basically story that you just have dangling there. That's you have him, yeah, you have it there, and it's actually has the history, and they can even bring in the personal things. Like, even though I destroyed you, you took all everything became about you, and it ruined me. So I feel like
Well, they
it's
have
kind of just an
Wembley for that.
unresolved issue that I really want them. And I like Wardlow. Is he the best in the ring? No, but I do feel like he could be in a better position, and even have it so he starts taking over the Undisputed Kingdom and actually, leading his own faction to gain some more credibility for him. But eh,
Well, they have Wembley for that. So,
I yeah, I'm actually thinking that there's setting up a match between him with Wardlow and MJF, like a big personal match for Wembley. That's for All In. That's I was wanting to see, like I was hinting towards that, but I was just thinking, I wonder how you guys would respond. It's like, oh, they could do better for MJF at Wembley than Wardlow.
well,
But
what I honestly think is going to happen is it's going to be Adam Cole. But,
I,
the-
I think he
but
still has a few months. He still has a long few months of healing. Even beyond Wembley, unfortunately.
for the
I
foot,
will. Hmm.
From what I heard, it's healing a lot slower than they anticipated.
if it's
Well,
not Cole, if it's not Cole, it's Wardlow. But I'd rather see Cole.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: we only, I only differ in my opinion in one regard, where I don't think where it was said that he's not the best. Wardlow is not the best in the ring. I would disagree. I personally believe that Wardlow has a lot more upside than is commonly seen. And I believe that it comes down to more of a presentation thing or having the right character or the right angle. There are a lot of guys who are really solid and really good, but they just need that right hook, that right character, that right angle, that right something in order to take them to the next level. I do not believe Wardlow has truly found that yet. Late last year, Swerve Strickland had his moment. He had that feud with Hangman Page that put him up into the next level, who made him look like a legitimate main event star that really just hooked everybody. I think that if Wardlow still hasn't found that moment yet, he's got all the potential in the world. He's got all the upside in the world. He just needs that extra little oomph, to get him there.
I think the issue with Wardlow was he had the moment when he turned on MJF. Okay, his popularity was riding high, and then they got that reaction for the meat match. I guess you could call it that. And then they pigeonholed all the big guys into feuds with each other because of that, because of the reaction of that match. And I think it kind of killed Wardlow. It killed the momentum he had because he got pigeonholed into that instead of doing what he should have been doing with MJF. So and then after that, it's like Tony Khan forgot how he built him in the first place because they had just pigeonholed all of these guys into the big man matches, so he had to start over again. And that's how you got Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow in these factions instead of being the single stars that they should be. So get Wardlow back where he belongs in the feud with MJF and show what you were showing when he turned on him in the first place.
That's why I feel like it's if this is gonna be a pay-per-view match, obviously MJF wins, but I see them attacking him after that, just or at least Wardlow attacking him after that. Because hell, the last time we had Wardlow in an actual match, he had that title match against Samoa Joe. I think it was Samoa Joe's first title match when his reign started. So that was like beginning of the year. And then once that happened, they just Undisputed Kingdom disappeared until they started having Roderick Strong with the International Championship. So it's just you have the talent, you have the story to build on that, and if you want to use this to help show, okay, MJF is not the guy that was whipping Wardlow and Wardlow not selling it. This is a completely different story, completely different animal, and this would be a good thing to remind people what kind of an animal Wardlow is. It's with these two guys that have in their history together. So that we just have to rely on Tony.
Is anyone else really just, and I'm sure I know for a fact we're going to be touching upon this same point with the rest of what AEW's got cooking. But is anyone, I don't know about you, but I love the fact that there's so many different things in wrestling as a whole that we're not 100% locked in on what is for sure going to happen. Like, oh yeah, maybe this could happen. Okay, maybe this could happen with the Intercontinental title, or maybe this will happen with this other thing, or maybe we'll get this happening in the Continental Crown tournament this year. Like, it's so damn refreshing to just being able to not 100% predict it, so it's not 100% obvious, and it's just that extra edge of the best kind of unpredictability. We can just sit back and to a certain extent just enjoy the ride, enjoy the
Yeah,
creative process.
it's been a long time since you couldn't legitimately tell what was coming months down the line. Okay, because I remember WWE being able to predict the Royal Rumble winner uh 6 months beforehand. Okay, not the case anymore. It's every the more unpredictable wrestling is, the better it is. So, and we're in a boom period right now.
Let's just hope that AEW can build on this fire that they're slowly building, which hope you still have that whole thing with at least with Tony Khan and his changing right before the show. Luckily, I haven't heard anything new on that, so hopefully that's a step in the right direction. But yeah, with all this, Danielson announcing himself in the Owen Hart tournament, now that just makes me
I
look forward to like the potential of having Will Ospreay Danielson 2 as the finals of the Owen Hart tournament.
I love the fact that people automatically decided that Bryan Danielson was going to win this tournament because of how he presented himself in that promo. Okay, that this is a Bryan Danielson move where he'll get you 100% behind him, and then he'll book himself to lose in the finals of the tournament so that the entire crowd is crying while he's laughing in the backstage area. Okay, he's not winning the tournament. We'll put it to you like that right now. I think it depends on who wins Hangman versus Swerve, not Hangman. If Swerve wins against Osprey, I've got Hangman winning the tournament because that should be your main event for Wembley. It should be because it was your best feud of basically it's my feud of the year right now. Okay, and
Osprey
it
Page, you mean, as the final?
no, I'm saying that Page wins the tournament
Okay.
and gets the title shot against Swerve at Wembley because
Okay.
the tournament is for a title shot
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Wembley. So I'm like, that's the logical, predictable way to go. But since we're talking about unpredictability, I think the only predictable thing you can predict about this tournament is that Bryan Danielson is not winning it because he gets you behind him 100%, and then he makes you cry while he's laughing in the backstage area because he got one over on you again. I
Hey,
mean,
meanwhile, we all paid for the tickets, we all paid for the shirts, so we're all getting what we
exactly,
want, mostly.
exactly. So it's like I love the fact that they did it. I love the fact that he's going out on his terms. I love the fact that he wants to do a tournament. I'm just like everybody automatically assuming this dude's gonna win. You obviously don't know Bryan Danielson, the booker.
I just want him to win the world title at least once before he starts going part-time. God damn.
And that's the issue because apparently
That's
you
that's
don't
the
know
thing.
Bryan Danielson either.
Then again, there is a precedent for those honoring somebody on the way out, even when they sort of put up a fuss against it. They already did it with Sting.
Well, Sting didn't put up too much of a fuss. Let's be real about that. Bryan
So,
Danielson will unequivocally say, "Hell no, I do not want it, and you're not going to give it to me, and I'm going to screw you over if you do." That is Bryan Danielson's mind.
I cannot speak on that with that much confidence. There's still some reasonable doubt in my mind, but hey, we'll have to see it when it comes, right? Right?
I'm locked in, baby.
Okay. I was just sort of
He's really
expecting a bit
emphasizing
more
that
of an.
douchiness.
All right. Hey, if you're locked in, you're locked in. Who am I to say? But with all that being said, about speaking of unpredictability and being locked in, the time has now come. We have to put in our predictions for NXT Battleground 2024. Are we ready?
I'm getting the match
Indeed.
listings up, so give me a quick. You can start it, but
All
I'm
right.
quickly pulling out the match card.
All right. On that note, we're going to be going in the following order with what, speaking of unpredictability, what might be one of the more unpredictable matches of the evening. We've got a women's ladder match for the new NXT Women's North American Champion. That is a mouthful. And our contenders are Sol Ruka, Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, Jada Parker, Michin, and Kalani Jordan. Who one of these women is going to be the new NXT Women's North American Champion? Whole new title, whole new champion. First question is, who's going to go first? Tarek, since you're the defending, not even the defending champion, but just champion as a whole, you have the right to first refusal. Do you want to go first, or do you want to defer to Brian to go next?
I'm going to defer to Brian on this one. I want to hear what you guys have to say on this before I have my decision, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Very well. In that case, Brian, it's your first pick of the show. Which way you going on this one?
I was 100% going for Sol Ruka before NXT when she got the pin. And I'm like, okay, logic booking says she's not going to win the ladder match. So it comes down to the woman who just turned heel, Fallon Henley, and it comes down to Lash Legend for me. And it could go either way because I'm like, it solidifies the heel run. And you can have a pretty good story with Lash Legend holding the title while Trick Williams holds the other title.
So which way you going?
Fuck it, Lash Legend.
All right then.
That's the spirit.
I'll tell you, Lash Legend, not a bad thought, not a bad pick here. I'll tell you what, for me personally, it was a toss up between Lash Legend and Sol Ruka in my mind as well. And you know what? I think there's going to be a little bit of defilement of expectations here. Yeah, I know Sol Ruka won this past week, but you know what? Sometimes things just make sense. And especially when you're crowning a new inaugural champion for something like this, I'm going to follow my gut and my heart. And given how over she is with the general public, and just how she's got a vibe, Sol Ruka is a vibe. And I dig it. And I think she's earned it. And I think she's cool enough and distinct enough to really set the pace for what this championship is going to be in the future. So I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Sol Ruka. I see what you mean about Fallon Henley. And again, there's really no bad picks here. Fallon Henley is certainly would be a dark horse pick in my mind, as well as Michin, frankly. And again, Lash Legend, I went back and forth with her and Sol Ruka, but for this one, just to keep things interesting and somewhat hopeful, I'm going to pick Sol Ruka to win. With that, cool. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Lash Legend.
Oh boy, this is going to bite me in the butt, isn't it? I got a bad feeling about it now all of a sudden.
Well, good. Well, good thing titles aren't on the line.
Yeah.
So
This one's just for fun.
all it is your pride gets hurt a little bit. We're
How
good.
convenient. How very
No,
convenient.
what hurts is just your chances of being Scholar of the Year. I- But
Yeah,
hey,
what? Oh, but hey. But hey. But speaking about but hey, next match, we've got a triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship for the men this time. We've got Oba Femi defending his title in a triple threat match against Wes Lee and Joe Coffey. And it's my first pick now, so here's another one. I'll tell you what, I don't think Oba Femi is going to lose this one. I'm going to go with Oba Femi. You very easily could make a case for Wesley to get the title back. But for this one, I'm going to go with a more sure thing. I'm going to go with Oba Femi. Tarek, it's your pick up next. Which way you going?
I'm gonna go with Obafemi as well. It just seems like they're trying to like solidify him as the greatest like North American champion, and I just feel like the way to keep that going is just keep the title on him and just keep put on Sheamus banger after banger after banger.
And Brian, which way you going on this one?
Yeah, this one's Obafemi. There is a case to be made for Wesley to get the title back, but I think they've got a good thing going here with Obafemi, and I don't think it's time yet.
Very good. And this next one, we will go back to the top of the order, Tarek, as it's up to you to pick between this next match. It's an NXT Underground match between Shayna Baszler and Lola Vice. Tarek, which way you going?
This one was actually really difficult for me. Uh, just because like looking into like Lola Vice and her in MMA fighting, or do I just want to just be like, oh, we'll just give it to the veteran and Shayna Baszler, or do they want to really emphasize Lola Vice? I'm going to go with Lola Vice.
All right, very
Why the hell
interesting.
not?
Brian, you tell us which way you going. Why the hell not?
I think they're setting up for Lola Vice to be the face of the women's division in NXT by the end of the year. So following that route, I think she has to win here. Lola Vice.
I have to admit, I'm going to go with Lola Vice, and I thought I was going to be in the minority here, but I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not so crazy. Maybe this isn't such a long shot after all. Maybe Lola Vice, they see some promise in her, which I would absolutely think they are. It's one of those moments where I'm surprised. I know I think it, but I'm surprised by how many other people think it too. So, hey, maybe there's something to this, and Lola Vice has something for everybody in the future. That'll bring us to our next match. We've got probably one of the more surprising announcements that we never thought we'd see. For the NXT Women's Championship, we've got Roxanne Perez versus Jordan Grace, of all people. Uh, Ryan, where do we begin with this?
You know, I was gonna be I was gonna be a troll and say that the TNA star would take the title, but then I remember that came out online that she had a contract for 3 appearances. Technically, this would be the third appearance because you had the announcement, then you had the match on the last show, and now you have this. So I think they're gonna go the simple route here, and I think they're gonna have Roxanne retain.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same. I'm gonna definitely go with Roxanne Perez to win. Although, as surreal as it would be to see Jordan Grace win the women's championship here, it's not the TNA crossover that I think some of us are really expecting. There has been some rumors and scuttlebutt that there was going to be some more announcements from this partnership with TNA in WWE. Tarek, I think you and I both know what we're hoping for or who we're hoping for. But for now, I think we'll both go. I think I too am going to go with Roxanne Perez to win. Cool. What do you think?
Who are we hoping for?
Say his name. He appears.
I believe in Joe Henry.
If there's
Oh,
any
yes.
hope, if there's any
Yes.
hope, make it happen, WWE.
Let it. Yes. Okay.
The local
Okay.
hero, Joe Hendry. Do it. Make it happen, please.
I said his name. He didn't appear. I said his name on X. He didn't appear,
Wait
unfortunately.
for it. Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Okay. I should just get
Can't
used to
rush
the.
art.
Okay. Sure. Uh, I would love to see Jordan Grace show up on TNA Impact with both the Knockouts Championship and the NXT Women's Championship. That would just be amazing and just kind of historic. But I don't see it happening. I'm gonna go with Roxanne Perez to retain here. But just the idea of the visual of Jordan Grace with both belts on different shows would just be just something to behold.
That would absolutely be historic. And I have a hard time coming up with, if that would happen at all, I have a hard time coming up with anyone who would be more deserving on the TNA side of things than Jordan Grace.
Mm-hmm.
With all that aside, I think we are all in agreement that that's a bit of a long shot at best. What might not be a long shot is the winners of the NXT Tag Team Championships. We've got Nathan Frazier and Axiom defending their titles against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the OC. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. I think the OC is going to win this one. I think this NXT Tag Championship reign is going to be that. This is going to be the refresher that they're going to need, at least in the shorter term. Hey, and like we've talked about, now that there's going to be a little bit of a resurgence with AJ Styles, maybe having the NXT Tag Team Champions backing up AJ, maybe that's what everyone is going to need. Rising tides raises all ships. So yeah, I'm going to go with the OC to win this one. Tarek, it's your pick up next. What do you got?
You pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. The OC, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, they're gonna win this. They're gonna have the NXT Tag Team Champions being the backup for AJ Styles in this story of him and Cody. Because you're not gonna want to take the tag team championships off Grayson Waller and Austin Theory because they got Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. They got that arc to go with. So if you want to put tag titles on the OC, the NXT tag team title is actually a really good choice. So yeah, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson for the win. OC, do it.
And with that, Brian, it's your pick up next. Do we have an accord?
And here's where it goes off the rails because we do not have an accord.
Ooh.
Ooh, interesting.
Because I go the opposite way of thinking. I think them having more of a role with AJ Styles up on SmackDown, I think that actually, I don't think they get the NXT tag team titles. I don't think they'd be on NXT anymore if they're going to be up on SmackDown with AJ Styles and that OC get up. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and say it. I think Axiom retain.
All right. And with that, that will bring us to our what presumably will be the main event of the evening for the NXT Championship. We've got Trick Williams defending his championship against Ethan Page of all people. Tarek, it's your final pick of the evening. Which way you going?
I have no idea, to be perfectly honest. I really do want Ethan Page to win this. So is this should I just go ahead and follow my heart on this one, or just think, they'll just keep it on Trick? Because yeah, just the sight of Ethan Page on NXT just got me be like, ooh, I like this. Like it's like, go ahead and just put the title on him to make that much of an impact, no pun intended. But I'm just gonna be cynical. I'm just gonna just say Trick Williams retains. But this is what I'll be happy to be proven wrong, because just thinking the idea of Ethan Page with the NXT Championship is just something I do want to see.
Interesting. Ryan, what do you think?
I'll say this. I'm of a like mind with Tarek. And if it was anyone other than Trick Williams, I would go for it and say Ethan Page. But it's Trick Williams. And one of those things where it's like Ethan Page shouldn't lose, but he shouldn't win either. It's like you kind of booked yourself into a hole here. Like, I think you got to have some kind of bullshit finish, whether it's a DQ or an accidental pin or something like that. But the issue is, how do you do that when Trick Williams is the face?
Very good question. Very good
And
question.
I know, right?
Gotta come up with something. Can't mess with that.
I already came up with Trick Williams wins, but I'm gonna say Trick Williams wins by disqualification.
Very interesting. Now you
Because I
propose
don't think
that.
because I don't think you should pin Ethan Page in his first match. But I also don't think you should have him win your company's biggest title in his first match.
If anything, it would probably be a no contest, and it's like set up the things for like a bigger match between the two down the line, like a no DQ or something like that, falls count anywhere, whatever. Just something like, if anything, just book this to a point where it's not that much of a bullshit finish, but it is a controversial finish that would build more of the story. But
Has NXT ever ended with a main event that didn't have a clean finish?
not to my knowledge.
Well, I get there's always room for a first.
And if there it really is going to be a non-clean finish with this, you know what? I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna go with Ethan Page.
I like bold. I like bold.
You know what? There's really only
But are you
there's
going
really
for a
only
title?
two minds in here. There's really only two real options I see being viable here. Is if there is going to be a screwy finish and Trick Williams does retain, to preserve, if there's going to be that sort of tricky finish and Trick Williams does retain and Ethan Page does not win, if that's the finish they're going for, I don't think this match is going to be in the main event. But if it does main event, then you need to have something strong and really eye-catching to end the show with. And I think the only thing you can do, only way you can do that is if Ethan Page defeats Trick Williams for the championship, if the show is indeed in the main event. Since we're going with that, I know what we've talked about, but you know what? In that particular incident, which I just described, I think it's one of the more likely ones. Screw it. I'm going with Ethan Page to win.
I hope you're right.
And I'm gonna be bold too. I'm gonna be bold too because I've got Jordan Grace versus Roxanne Perez main eventing.
That's I don't again, not another bad option. It can go either way, I think. It's absolutely deserved.
I think that has the build more than Page versus Williams to main event. And I think there's a potential there. I think the potential that you could see Jordan Grace with the NXT title and the TNA women's title in the Impact Zone next week is is enough of a potential big deal to make that a main event.
Very interesting. Well, we'll absolutely have to see how it all goes down. And with that, those are our predictions for NXT Battleground. But now is our point of our show where we bring it back to you, our fellow fans. What do you think is going to happen at Battleground? Who's going to walk away? Is there going to be any expansion to this collaboration with TNA? And most importantly of all, what on earth is Tarek laughing about? No matter what you think, comment below. Leave us comments all across the internet, YouTube comments, Facebook posts, whatever you got, or you can do it the way we like it, and we can join in the conversation on Twitter/X/ call it whatever you will. Join in the conversation with us. And Fool, they want to join in the conversation. Where can they reach you?
You can reach me laughing at the idea of Trick Williams winning the match clean. And soon as you see the closing logo, as we always know, it means something. Trick Williams celebrates, say his name, and He appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. And that closes it. That's your next NXT title feud. Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams. Book
I would
it.
love that.
That's what I'm just like, yes, do it.
At
at the Avatar.
tiny details. And Brian, where can they reach you?
You can reach me just laughing along at the chaos at Atomic Beanpole.
Very
And you
chaotic.
can find me going along with every single little bit of it at I'm Robbie Rage. And with that, we are done here for another week at the Scholars of Wrestling show. We are going to be enjoying this weekend of wrestling and the weekends to come because we got a lot on the horizon. We're going to be talking about it all because you know who, and we already knew that because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
See you all at the NXT Battleground.